What's up, everybody? Good morning. How are you? I hope you're having a wonderful morning, Monday morning. I cannot talk yet, apparently. Is my microphone on all the way? Yes. Okay. So welcome to Grow the Info, where I like to bring you good information that you can verify yourself. Everything that we're going to be talking about today is linked on our website, growtheinfo.com. It's easy to find, so go ahead and check that out. And we also put up press release lists and recall notices and all kinds of good things. If you haven't followed us on Twitter, then you can get good information that way as well. At Grow the Info is our name, and I just made an Instagram account for us, but I don't have anything on there yet. I'm not super into Instagram, so we shall see how far that goes. So welcome everyone, and today we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to recap some stuff briefly that's happened over the weekend and that has been overlooked over the past week. Of course, the whole Iran situation has been kind of taking the news a lot lately. So there have been some things that have happened that are very interesting, and of course the mainstream media is not talking about them at all. And just a disclaimer quickly, I'm going to save the story that I am the most angry about for last, but just a warning, I will probably be ranting quite a bit. I will probably get very angry, so if you don't want to see that, then, I'll warn you, I guess, before I do that story, and again, I'll save it for the last, because I am extremely upset. Alright, so first, everybody knows, well, I hope you know, if you don't know, there was a volcano in the Philippines that erupted over the weekend. I think it was yesterday that it erupted. And there have been 16,000 people, apparently, that have been evacuated from the area right around the volcano. It's sitting on an island inside of like a caldera thing in the Philippines. And so the real concern is that if there's more activity and with the volcano, once it gets all of its energy out, it can cause a big displacement in the Earth's crust. And when that happens, obviously, physics, for every action there is an equal but opposite reaction. So if the Earth moves, then all the water around it is going to have to move and go somewhere too. So that can cause a big tsunami, and it's kind of like in a little circly thing. So there's a bunch of little towns and people that live right around it. So they've evacuated a lot of people that are in the immediate impact zone, but they're still concerned about, obviously a lot of damage. And Puerto Rico keeps getting hit occasionally by earthquakes, it seems. So there's been a lot of geological activity that's been happening. And if you missed a stream recently where I did talk about space weather, and I brought up that when space stuff happens, and the Earth gets hit with big magnetic rays or solar blasts, then it can have an impact on the weather. And I wasn't very good at explaining myself because I got a little bit nervous and stuff. That happens to me being on camera, so please be patient with me. But when stuff like that happens, it can cause other massive storms. With the Australia fires, we see big storms happening from that. With the volcanic eruptions, you see big storms. And then if we were to be hit by some kind of solar blast right now, it could, it's already very catastrophic, and there's already extinction level events that are happening. And as far as extinction of species, not necessarily of humans, but so it's something that is definitely, we need to be aware of it. We need to be paying closer attention to it. And when you hear about these severe weather stories and stuff, then make sure that you tell your friends and family, because that way they can know how serious it is if something like this is about to impact you. And another very serious weather story that has happened recently was there were tornadoes that happened in a few southern states. I know that there was a lot of damage in Louisiana and South Carolina. Some schools were hit, and apparently there have been, they're saying at least 12 people have died. So I'm not sure if there have been more people with serious injuries that, they're now waiting to see. But, it's very heartbreaking to see those images of all that destruction. And a lot of times these storms hit in the middle of the night. Sometimes places don't have the best sirens and warnings systems in place. I live in northern Florida, and we don't have tornado sirens at all, so you are completely reliant on the radio or the TV or the internet to let you know if there's a tornado there, and sometimes, those kinds of information, it's not getting out as quickly as it should, or as reliably as it should. So it's really worrisome, and if you know about severe weather happening that's going to happen near you, make sure that you tell your friends and family, because they might be unaware. All right, so let me go over to the chat quick and say good morning again, Bo Fubum. Good morning. The bright border makes you hard to watch. Okay, good to know. Thank you for that feedback. I will definitely look at changing that. Yeah, I have a hard time. I have, I don't know, I have bad eyes, so I like everything to usually be dark. On my screens, everything is like in the night mode, so I don't know if other people, they seem to like stuff with the, the white web pages and everything, so. Me and your mother watching. That's funny. Okay, you know what? I can fix that really quickly, actually. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I was trying to do something else up. Okay, so let's do this. All right, is that better? No, wait, you can't see it yet. There we go. Is that better? I mean, it's just black. It's just basic black, but honestly, like I said, I like the black background with the color on top of it, and I know it's kind of dark in here. I usually rely on the sunlight coming through the window that's in front of me to give me really good lighting, but the sun is not participating today, so. But thank you so much for the feedback. I'm going to keep going through the news. And again, thank you so much. And I really like that. It's just me and your mother watching. That is very funny. I would be weirded out if my mother was watching, honestly. Okay, so back into the news. All right, so we talked about the tornadoes, the volcanoes. I got notes I'm going through here. Okay, there have been some tariff talks that are supposed to be happening. We'll see if anything actually happens with it, right? Apparently the White House has invited a lot of people to the White House on the 15th to partake in some kind of tariff treaty signing. They're looking at lowering the 17% tax down to 7.5. Okay, so Steve Mnuchin said that there weren't any serious policy changes that were occurring, but the Chinese government did not seem to agree with that. So we'll see what actually ends up getting changed and what doesn't. The Steve Mnuchin, our side, is saying that China is going to promise to buy certain amounts and that there are going to be reinforcements with that. But there have also been some headlines coming out recently about how China is buying up a lot of things like soybeans from places like isn't it Brazil, I think, that they buy a lot from? There are other places that they buy soybeans from that they have been exhausting the supplies for a long time, but those countries are now developing and they're growing, so their supply is growing, and so there's always been the concern that when China has not been buying things like soybeans from U.S. farmers, they're buying them from other places. It's not like they're just going without. They like to import their soybeans because there are different restrictions in their country than other countries. So we'll see what happens, always hopeful for something to be signed with that. And what else is going on? There has been more impeachment talk. Nancy Pelosi has indicated that she is ready to send the impeachment articles to the Senate. Now, again, the Senate has to vote on it, and then after that, that's when we'll see any kind of big action or anything happen. So there's not, it's not like he's going to be removed from office tomorrow, but they're slowly still trying to I don't know, go down the impeachment route. I think usually in the past, it's not like it's taken this long with impeachment. So the Republicans are definitely using this to their advantage to say that the Democrats must not have anything to stand on and that it's all just a sham because they're taking so long. And Democrats are actually seeming to get very upset with Nancy Pelosi over how long it's taking. So it's been very interesting to watch kind of unfold. As I said, I don't think until this stuff, I mean, I know the escalations with Iran have calmed down some, but if things spark back up again, I don't think we're going to see anything with impeachment while there are big escalations going on. They did just pass the H concurrent res 83, I believe it was. We covered that if you would like to look back at some of our other videos, and I detailed in that what exactly that House concurrent resolution said. Matt Gaetz, who is one of my representatives, was one of the only Republicans, I think he was the only one in fact, to vote yes for that. And by his understanding, the resolution did not actually criticize Trump's actions, and it did not tie his hands for action in the future. I actually agree with that, with the word, because of how the House concurrent resolution is worded. I do have that linked in the stream that I did of that. So if you would like to read that for yourself, and I encourage you to, then go ahead and check that out. I have seen it kind of being twisted, you know, to seem like, oh, well, they're just, you know, yelling at Trump and they want to keep him from doing anything without Congress's approval. But it does state in there, it says that he is not allowed to use the armed forces without congressional approval unless, and then there are stipulations. So make sure that you go back and read that so that you have the information for yourself. Okay, what else do I have to go through? Alright, I think that's all of the quick news that I wanted to do, and then we have some other releases, some press releases and Department of Justice kinds of things to look at. So, I'm going to switch over. Here we go. So you can find the links to all of these sources. Oh yeah, you said the background was bad. Let me turn off the background for you. There we go. And the graphics are all in the wrong spot. Sometimes trying to do this stuff in practice and then like you go and you do it for the actual run, and it doesn't work very well. Okay, so on our website you can find all of the links to these things. Our website is growtheinfo.com, and this is what it looks like. You just scroll down to where it says Monday morning news links, and you can find all of the links and stuff that we're not covering today as well. I will probably be adding more links to this as they come out during the day. Okay, hold on. Let me read what you said quick. I don't, thank you so much. You're so sweet, but I don't really like doing the full screen because I'm just like, my face is entirely too big. I do not want to see my face that big on the screen. I feel the same way about 1080p. I'm like, I do not want to see my face in 1080p. Okay, you said lose the graphics? Okay. I'll at least take down the thumb one. If I can figure out which one it is in my list here. Here we go. There we go. Alright, so at least that one is off and out of the way. Oh yeah, well I can adjust. There we go. Alright. So, these are the links that we are going through. First, let me update you quick on a couple recalls, just real quick. There has been a health alert for Swedish meatball products due to misbranding and an undeclared allergen. And there has also, hold on one second, my kids need me. Sorry. Okay. All right, and they are also adding more products to the recall list for the Allmark Foods recall. So make sure that you are aware of those things. It has to do with a lot of egg products. Hold on one more second. Let me just put it on and be right back because my kids need my help.
I want.
All right, I am back. And yeah, either you're in or out, but unfortunately I'm a mom. So see, the thing with moms is that we don't get to just like pawn our kids off on somebody else and get whatever done that we need to have done if we actually want to take care of our kids. So my kids are going to come and interrupt my streams, and I will have to stop my streams and go take care of them because I'm a good mother. So if you know, if you're not patient with that kind of thing, then I don't know what to tell you. It doesn't seem like you would be here for the information anyway. So, like, this is real life, you know? That's the truth, yo. For definitely. Alright. Okay, the first thing that we are going to is Henry's medical needs. And then it goes on to state, you know, that obviously when correctional officers are in care of people that they need to take care of them. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember this story or not, but I do remember the headlines coming out about correctional officers just completely ignoring an inmate, and she ended up dying in her cell when usually when you are admitted and you do your intake, then they ask you about your medical needs, and they have a medical ward usually at these jail facilities, so they know what your needs are. There is no excuse for ignorance in this matter. Absolutely not. And especially for the inmates to, you know, feel the need to be like, excuse me, I need medical help or I'm going to die, and then officers to just completely ignore them is completely just ridiculous. And there is another one that I'm going to go through quickly that shows how they are trying to crack down on this, but of course we see it just keeps happening. A former supervisory correctional officer sentenced to 24 months in federal prison for civil rights violation. Now, this is a supervisory correctional officer. So this woman was obviously a supervisor. She was caught for this, but I mean, who knows if there were any other instances where something similar might have occurred and she was not caught. Crystal Ford, 33, was sentenced by U.S. District Judge Marcia A. Crone to 24 months in federal prison, followed by 1 year of supervised release. Ford previously pleaded guilty on May 29, 2019, to one count of aiding and abetting another correctional officer in the assault of an inmate housed at the facility. While on duty at the FCC, Ford opened the door of a secured medical observation cell after an inmate threw a tray at the locked door. Ford then told another correctional officer to take care of it and watched as the officer entered the cell and punched the inmate in the head 3 times without justification. Following the assault, Ford submitted written reports that omitted any reference to the assault in an effort to cover up the incident and make it appear justified. These officers are paid by taxpayer money, and the facility is not, it's a correctional facility. The whole point of inmates being there is so that they can learn better behavior and understand that what they did was wrong, so that way they can reintegrate into society. If you teach them that they're just going to get punched in the head by the man, then do you think that when they come out of the joint they're going to be any more all for the man? No, they're going to go right back into the same thing. And of course, if nothing had been done about this, then that would be a very good example of why some people come out of the system being very against a lot of different kinds of law enforcement. To say it nicely, you know. Okay, so let's keep moving on. A Queens woman has been sentenced to 15 years imprisonment for teaching and distributing information about weapons of mass destruction. Earlier today at the federal courthouse in Brooklyn, oh, by the way, this came out on Thursday. So earlier today, on Thursday, at the federal courthouse in Brooklyn, New York, Asia Siddiqui was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment by the United States District Judge Sterling Johnson Jr. for her role in planning to build a bomb for use in a terroristic attack in the United States. Siddiqui and her co-defendant, Noel Valences, pleaded guilty on August 23, 2019, to a charge of teaching or distributing information pertaining to the making and use of an explosive, destructive device or weapon of mass destruction, in furtherance of a planned federal crime of violence. The other defendant is still awaiting trial or sentencing, actually. With the sentence imposed by the court, they have been held accountable for her crimes. Inspired by radical Islam, Siddiqui and her co-defendant researched and taught each other how to construct bombs to be used on American soil against law enforcement and military targets. Remember, we did cover a story not that long ago, it was probably about a month ago now, about a man that was working with terrorist groups to continue to distribute information and material. In fact, he created a whole algorithm that allowed these groups to be able to take the information, all of the tags and the description and everything and the footage of a video, and to very quickly and easily copy it to a whole bunch of different accounts. And the department charged him with obviously helping terrorist organizations, because without him doing that, they would not have been able to spread that information as quickly. We see Facebook and Google and all these places are cracking down on freedom of speech, and of course, and YouTube, and they go under the guise of, oh, well, we don't want that information to spread. And so this is one of the reasons why our government is, trying to make them censor everybody, because they don't want the information to spread. But the hackers that know how to get through all the stuff, they're just going and working with the people. I believe that the stream that I covered that story in was called Nerds Helping Terrorists. I believe that's what that stream was. I think. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. A Florida businessman has been sentenced to 48 months in prison for role in Venezuela bribery scheme. Okay, so this has to do with another story that has been going on and developing for a long time. I am going to go more in depth with this story in a video specialized just for it, regarding some of the stuff that we see going on between our country and Venezuela. I have touched on it some, but let's just go through this one real quick. A former general manager and partial owner of a Florida-based company was sentenced to 48 months in prison today for his role in a scheme to corruptly secure contracts from Venezuela's state-owned and state-controlled energy company. Juan Jose Hernandez Camerma, 54, of Weston, Florida, pleaded guilty January 10th, 2017. So again, this has been going on for several years. To one count of conspiracy to violate the Foreign Corruption Practices Act. So he pleaded guilty. This dude pleaded guilty. This is that much of a throwback. January 10th, 2017. Okay? Again, I'll have to go through all the details in a different one. I don't want this stream to be too long. But if you've been paying attention, the Justice Department has been going after corrupt people that had to do with the Venezuelan energy sector for a while. Okay. According to admissions made in connection with Hernandez's plea, Hernandez conspired with U.S.-based businessmen Abraham Jose Shira Bastidas and Roberto Enrique Rincon Fernandez to pay bribes and other things of value to PDVSA purchasing analysts. This ensured that Shira's and Rincon's companies were placed on PDVSA bidding panels, which enabled the companies to win lucrative energy contracts with the company. From 2008 until 2012, while employed and later partial owner, one of Shira's companies, Hernandez provided recreational travel and entertainment and offered bribes to PDVSA officials, I'm sorry I'm so tongue-tied, including this other person, based on the percentage of contracts the officials helped to award to the companies. So that they have had quite a few people that they have charged. Where does it say later on? It says, okay, 6th defendant to be sentenced by Judge Miller as a part of a larger investigation into bribery in that company, PDVSA. Including these people, Justice Department has announced charges against 25 individuals, 19 of whom have pleaded guilty in connection with the investigation. So if you are paying attention to the Venezuela news at all, obviously our country is very upset, at least our government is very upset about the human rights violations that are happening in Venezuela. And of course there are the sanctions that we have placed against them and all that good stuff. And also on top of that, again, I'm not going to get too in depth, but our Justice Department does know of corruption that has been happening, and as it just said, that person was a Florida individual. So it's not like these are just people that have been in the Venezuelan government for a long time that are doing all of this corruption and stealing all of this money. Our government is charging people that had a hand in ruining the energy sector there. And at the same time, they're like, why isn't your energy sector better? We need to go in there and show you how to do things. So there's that information. Okay, and then on to the last story that I wanted to talk about today, and then I will tell you about some House hearings that are coming up later on today. It'll be about 4 o'clock Central Standard Time, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that the hearings will be happening. So, and hold on one second. I need a sip of coffee. Do you guys need coffee in the morning? Or tea or anything? I always need coffee or green tea or something. Some warm, delicious beverage to get me going. Okay, so the last story that I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to get very, very upset about this. I am definitely a mama bear type. So this angered me a lot when I saw this. I did hit up Marfugal on Twitter, if you know who that is, here on YouTube, and let him know about the story as well. I'm not sure if he's going to cover it or not, but I do remember him mentioning that he had a nephew, I believe it was, that is on the spectrum. So, you know, I thought maybe this would hit a little bit close to home. If you know anybody or if you have kids or anything that is autistic or is on the autism spectrum, then I'm sure that you will understand why this story is so infuriating, and we really need to try to share this kind of information because a lot of people tend to trust school systems that seem to be specialized to kids with certain disabilities, and they're not always the most trustworthy. So this is a settlement that the United States and the ANOVA Center for Education have reached. So there was an allegation in which this school system restrained a 10-year-old boy 77 times over the course of several months. And this school system is claiming to be specialized for kids with autism spectrum disorder. And it goes on to say that the United States Investigation and Compliance Review sustained allegations that through its policies, practices, or procedures, ANOVA discriminates against children with autism spectrum disorder who, because of their disabilities, have difficulty adhering to ANOVA's standard behavior program. ANOVA's failure to reasonably modify its policies, practices, and procedures led to unnecessary and inappropriate reliance on classroom exclusion and restraint to manage behavior in violation of Title III of the Americans with Disabilities Act and its implementing regulation. Parents and local public schools provided ANOVA with the resources to determine how to provide individualized support and interventions that would mitigate escalating behavior, facilitate class participation, and reduce ANOVA's reliance on restraint, but ANOVA declined to apply such resources. ANOVA acknowledges the United States position set forth in paragraph 4 above and desires to enter this agreement, but ANOVA firmly denies that it has ever discriminated against any of its students and declined to apply available resources. So, all right. So I am very angry about this because I am a mother of 2 autistic boys, and I have not had a very good experience with school systems either. And unfortunately, school systems like this, and especially private ones that are not regulated by the government, they really rely on people giving them a lot of money, a lot of donations, and then they also rely on the children's inability to communicate what has happened on a daily basis. So, for example, if you have a 5-year-old, and they specialize for children 5 and up, apparently, according to them. So if you have a child that is 5 years old and is just starting to speak in sentences and is mostly just parroting stuff that they hear, then the school system, they think that they can just like restrain them and put them in the corner, and just because they're not going to be able to go home and tell their mom and dad what happened. So when your kid comes home and they have gotten hurt on the playground and then they repeatedly don't want to keep going back to school and they keep being a problem in class and everything, then the teachers say, oh, well, you just have a problem child, and then they just use it as an excuse to restrain the children even more. Now let me tell you something about autistic kids. They don't know how to interact very well with other kids, with other people, okay? It's a processing issue. Or even if like they're nice and sweet and they're not like, yelling and hitting or anything like that, they might be running around the classroom making noise, just making sound effects, because what kid wants to sit at a desk anyway and sit and write on a piece of paper with a pen? Do we even have jobs where we have to sit with a piece of paper and a pen anymore? Is that a kind of job that we have? So why are we forcing these special needs students that already have a hard time sitting and doing something that kids should not have to be doing? Why are we forcing them to do this when these are not jobs? They're not going to grow up to sit with a piece of paper and a pencil and just recite stuff back to you. That's not what they're gonna grow up to do. If they go up and I'm sorry, see, I'm getting so upset. This is why I saved this story for the last. So if they grow up and they get any kind of decent job, then they are going to be needing to do kind of independent thinking. They're going to be doing problem solving and strategy and stuff like that. They're going to need to learn how to be independent workers, to know how to calm themselves down and restrain themselves, not be reliant on some kind of method where you're sitting there teaching them that it's okay to vent all of the frustration outwardly because you have something that is forcing you there. You know, it's not a good habit to get these kids into. And children with autism and autism spectrum disorder, they really go by habits and what happens every day. Like, if it doesn't matter if they get in trouble for the same thing every day, they're still going to keep doing it because that's the habit. And it seems like this school that is so specialized for these kids, they don't know that. I don't know why they, with working with all of these kids with spectrum disorder, with having these teachers that have this training and all this stuff, why they don't get it, and yet parents of autistic kids do. It said that they were notified by the parents of things that they could do with the kids to change their behavior, and they, nope, just not going to do it, not going to do it. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it actually has to kind of go along with something else that's going on in the House hearing happening later today. So if you're interested in education, then make sure that you check out the House hearing that's happening 4 o'clock Central Standard Time and 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But I'm going to share a little bit more about this education center with you. We're not ending the story there because, see, as I said, I'm a bit of a mama bear. So when I see something like this, I'm like, oh no, no. So I wanted to do a little bit of digging. Now, something that you need to be aware of if you're a parent that's looking to get your kid into a specialized program or anything like that, one big warning sign would be if on like their Twitter page thing, they haven't posted anything since 2017 when they were sitting here begging people for donations, posting the same picture over and over again of a broken classroom. Okay, and just asking for donations, and they have posted nothing else since then? Really? 2017. Okay, so let's look at their actual web page. So this is their web page, and I'm not going to show it for too long because I don't want them to come and get all pissy at me. But you can see they censor-friendly partners, and they pretend to be all about helping kids with special needs. And if you're restraining a kid 77 times, no. And it was not just allegations regarding this one time. It said that the investigation showed multiple allegations. It's disgusting and it's revolting, and we really need to be aware of schools like this. As I said, I live in Florida. So if you live in Florida, let me just go ahead and give you another piece of warning. Private schools in Florida are not regulated in a way that you might think. So if you are looking at sending your kid to a privatized institution or a private school, then I strongly beg you to please look up how the private schools in Florida work, and look up the past and the history of people that are working at that school, whoever owns it, any kind of business connections that they have at all. This one is actually a 501 verified, it said nonprofit. So, it shows even places like that come across as being so for the kids are not necessarily. And a big part of it too is that these workers are oftentimes, and these teachers are oftentimes given a lot of kids and not necessarily the resources that they need, and not the training that they need either. With my local school system, part of the reason why I homeschool is because last year the school system had a teacher quit, in fact the teacher for my son, and then they couldn't hire another teacher, and so it was an assistant teaching the class, and she was not trained or qualified to be doing that, and they still wanted to just act like it was okay and it's hunky-dory. So my son was not learning what he should be doing. He was getting constantly like sub work You know, like when a sub goes in and they just give you some review work of stuff that you've already learned. That's all he was getting. And the school system wanted to just allow that to continue to happen. So we need to, as parents, we need to be very, very aware of these things. If you are unhappy with your child's education, do not be afraid to contact the school board. You can look up your public school, and then you can look up the county, and you should be able to find a way to contact the school board and let them know what's going on. If they will not listen, then talk to other parents and see if they are having similar issues or concerns. And make sure that you say something about it. Don't just let it continue. I was actually at the park this past week, and I spoke to a mom that lives in the area, and she had a older son. He was 11, and he has autism spectrum disorder. I forget what variation exactly, but she told me that he has been through all of the schools in the area, and he was just learning more bad behavior in all of them. So again, I ask you, if a child learns through repetition and through habits, and even adults that aren't on the spectrum, that's how we do things too. Most of what we do in a day is a habit. So then how can you expect a child with autism that has processing issues to break outside of a habit that you have created for them? Hashtag logic. I don't know. Maybe we should be teaching these children how to be good adults instead of how to be quiet little robots that sit in the corner and don't bother us. You know? I'm just saying. And again, that is why I am not stressing about my kids coming and interrupting my streams. They have come in here before and they have sat and watched me stream and made some noise in the background. They want to be involved. They want to see what I'm doing, and I'm a homeschool mom, so ultimately this stuff that I'm doing is extra. They are my priority, and that's how it should be with parents. And I feel like our government should be, if they're with the education board, they should be kind of taking that stance too. So enough ranting about that. Again, I'm sorry. This is why I wanted to save that for the last thing to do, because I knew that I was going to start ranting. Okay, so for the last thing that I wanted to cover, the House today is having a hearing. If you want to find out information about this, go to house.gov, and on the right-hand side, you can see, do I have it pulled up? Yes, okay. On the right-hand side, you can see where it has the daily schedule. You can flip from day to day so that you can see what upcoming hearings are going to be happening. And if you click on it, and I'm sorry, I know I was like yelling at my microphone during that. This is why I don't cover a lot of news and stuff that has to do with kids, because I get mad. Okay, so meeting announcement for HR 1230 and HJ Res 76. So 1230 has to do with Protecting Older Workers Against Discrimination Act. And I have not looked into what that one says. I am probably going to be streaming this evening. So go ahead and make sure that you subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and turn on the bell notification so that you can be notified when we go live. But I did look up what HJ Res 76 was, and this is the information that it gave. It said a joint resolution providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code, submitted by Department of Education, relating to borrower defense institutional accountability. Quite the title. So it says, Congress disapproves the rule submitted by the Department of Education relating to borrower defense institutional accountability, and such rule shall have no force or effect. So, like, what is that? I don't know. Let's look it up. Okay, so this thing that they're talking about is something that was passed in August. Just give the date. Yeah, August 30th this came out. So back then, today, the U.S. Department of Education finalized regulations that will protect student borrowers, hold higher education institutions accountable, and provide financial protections to taxpayers. The institutional accountability regulations posted on the department's website today come after more than 2 years of deliberations, public hearings, negotiated rulemaking with a wide variety of higher education stakeholders, and careful consideration of tens of thousands of public comments. And they go on to say that schools should be held accountable if they defraud students. It would grant it would grant borrowers the right to assert borrower defense to repayment claims against institutions, regardless of whether the loan is in default or in collection proceedings, maintain the current rules preponderance of the evidence standard for all borrower defense to repayment claims, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to make you sit through all that right now. Again, we are going to be going over this and probably streaming this evening. So make sure that you subscribe, and in that stream I will post the links to this. I did not post the links to this on our blog post for today, but again, you can get the information by going to house.gov, or you can get more information on this text specifically by looking up the, the Borrower Defense Institutional Accountability. If you just Google that, then it will pull up this U.S. Department of Education article on it. So there is that. Thank you so much for joining, everybody, and listening to my rant about that story. I really appreciate it. That really did not make me happy. And I'm curious to know your guys' opinion, and if you have had any negative or positive dealings with education kind of institutions on this kind of, dealing with children with disabilities. I know that there are some people that swear by getting their kids in early and having them in that school system early because they view that it sets them up for a good school career. And then there are some other people that are kind of against that. I tend to be more so against that, but I think it definitely depends on the child and sometimes the parents too. Sometimes it's better for the child to be, in school and in that setting than at home. And of course, a lot of parents are kind of forced to be putting their children in somebody else's care for a long period during the day because they have to go work. Like a single parent, they're not really going to be able to homeschool. So you're kind of forced to try to just trust somebody with your child, and hopefully, the government's paying attention to what's going on with it, and hopefully nothing is happening. It's a very hard situation, and my heart goes out to all of the other parents that have had to deal with this at all. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Again, you can find the links to everything that I went over by going to growtheinfo.com, and you can follow us on Twitter at growtheinfo. I do try to put out the recall notices as soon as I see them in my inbox, so if you want that kind of up-to-date information, then go ahead and follow us on there. And again, we do have an Instagram account now, but I haven't posted anything on it yet. So if you are into Instagram and you want to follow us, you can go ahead and do that. And I think that's it. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Thank you, Bo. Oh, you were talking about the size. I thought you were talking about either you are in or out, like in or out of the room. I see. Yes. Yep. I understand the needing things to be as big as possible. Yeah, I have bad eyes too, so I do understand that. I sometimes watch the replay of myself on my computer, and I'm like, no, face, why are you doing that? So honestly, sometimes I'm just like, maybe I should just not show my face at all. I could do the whole screen for everything else and just not show my face. Maybe that would be a good compromise. That might be a good compromise. See, you were on my face just then. I thought I switched it off onto the other screen. I'm sitting here like looking. When I'm doing this, when I'm leaning in, and I'm like, yeah, that's because I'm trying to see what's on my computer screen too. YouTube has super tiny text. So, all right, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here and stop rambling. I'm going to get my day on. I hope that you all have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoy your Coca-Cola bow. And again, thank you so much for joining. And every time that you guys join and you come and watch, or if you hit the thumbs up button, you leave a comment, even if you can only join for a few minutes and then you have to go get your ish done, I totally understand and I appreciate each and every one of you for it. Every time that you do that, you're helping spread information. The algorithms aren't going to promote my channel more than likely. It's small. I don't filter what I say. So by you guys doing that and interacting, then it really helps to be able to boost information to get out there. All right, so I will see you guys later on this evening for that hearing on protecting elderly workers and the education stuff. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and let's go out with some tunes.